11 plus deep lessons from the book, Writing to Learn. Number 1. Contrary to general belief, writing isn't something that only writers do. Writing is a basic skill for getting through life, yet most American adults are terrified of the prospect. Ask a middle-aged engineer to write a report and you'll see something close to panic. Writing, however, isn't a special language that belongs to English teachers and a few other sensitive souls who have a gift for words. Writing is thinking on paper. Anyone who thinks clearly should be able to write clearly, about any subject at all. Number 2. A powerful element in learning to write is motivation. Motivation is crucial to writing. Students will write far more willingly if they write about subjects that interest them and that they have an aptitude for. But they don't often get that chance. Writing tends to be assigned only in subjects like English or history that are identified with writing. What also gets imparted in those classes is fear. The fear of writing is planted in countless people at an early age, often, ironically, by English teachers who make science-minded kids feel stupid for not being good at words. Just as science teachers make people like me feel stupid for not being good at science. Whichever our type, the loss of confidence stays with us for the rest of our lives. Number 3. A paper that requires a rewritten answer will have 2 grades. The first one is for the originally submitted examination. The second grade, shown in parentheses, is the one that the student will receive if an acceptable rewritten answer is returned on time. Once students accept the fact that correct but poorly written answers are unacceptable, most of them write more carefully. Eventually, very few of them have to rewrite at all. In this way, writing becomes an integral part of the course without diminishing the chemical content. Number 4. Certainly, writing is one of the main endeavors where disorder is more common than order. Murphy's Law, which says that if something can go wrong, it will, applies to the average sentence almost as inexorably as a law of physics. If you want a law of physics, I can commend, thanks to Grammatical Man, the second law of thermodynamics, which states that the tendency of energy is to decay in usefulness. A change for the worse known as entropy. I found it consoling after all these years to learn that writers are up against nothing less than the fundamental anarchy of the universe. Entropy, prince of disorder, is sprinkling noise on everything we write. Ambiguity is noise. Redundancy is noise. Misuse of words is noise. Vagueness is noise. Jargon is noise. Pomposity is noise. Clutter is noise. All those unnecessary adjectives. Ongoing progress. All those unnecessary adverbs. Successfully avoided. All those unnecessary prepositions draped onto verbs. Order up. All those unnecessary phrases. In a very real sense, information is your sacred product, and noise is its pollutant. Guard the message with your life. Number 5. Obscurity being one of the deadly sins, anyone might suppose that serious people would labor mightily to avoid it in their writing, but to suppose this is to overlook another force of nature that almost equals entropy as a drag on life's momentum. That force is snobbery. Yes, gentle reader. As the Victorian novelists put it when they had to deal with the darker traits, it pains me to say that there are writers who actually want to be obscure. Their principal habitat is academia, though they can be spotted without the aid of binoculars wherever intellectuals flock. Not for them the short words and active verbs and concrete details of ordinary speech. They believe that a simple style is the sign of a simple mind. Actually, a simple style is the result of harder thinking and harder work than they are willing or able to do. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you probably will not see us again. If you have, congratulations, you are growing every day. Number 6. Song is the noblest, the most intimate, the most complete manner of self-expression known to mankind. And in the last analysis, self-expression is the great thing for which mankind is ever searching. As the power to express grows, so the higher ideals of life develop, and the greatest and most subtle influences, which make for culture, come to have full sway. There comes into every life a time when the inner self can no longer be reached by things from without. When the soul craves that which it can supply to itself alone, song then becomes not only a source of forgetfulness of material things and a solace, but also an inspiration. It repays the possessor for every effort that has been lavished upon it, and returns 1,000-fold all that it has cost. In a commercial age like the present, we are prone to forget much that really makes life worth living. Anything which develops a love of the beautiful is of incalculable benefit to all. Song is intended to stir us into action and into a condition where we become conscious of the presence of higher, holier things than are dreamed of in our philosophies. Number 7. Jargon is the lingo of people in specialized fields who have infected each other with their private terminology and don't think there's any other way to say what they mean. Somewhere, they forgot about the mother tongue. There's almost no subject that can't be made accessible in good English. Jargon, of course, takes a multitude of forms. The two preceding examples are typical of the buzzwords, mostly nouns, that infest such fields as management, banking, insurance, education, and government. They are words that make the insider feel important when he uses them, but that don't really mean anything. What is a profoundly strategic horizon? Just what are those formats that it would be most relevant to determine? An outsider can only try to translate and hope for the best, a task made harder by the tendency of fad nouns to attach themselves to other fad nouns. Recently, I cited this brilliant cluster: communication facilitation skills development intervention. 5 nouns, but no human activity that I could visualize. I went at the problem like a code breaker. Intervention equals help or teach. Development plus facilitation equals improve. Communication skills equals writing. Solution: a program to help kids write better. More often, jargon consists of special terms that every occupation has found it necessary to invent. Used with restraint, they aren't jargon. They are the working tools of a particular field, and if they serve a specific need, we have no trouble learning new ones overnight. Words like amniocentesis and gentrification and superconductivity. The trouble arises when jargon becomes a crutch, when its users become so dependent on their private terminology that they claim they can't express themselves in any other way. Social scientists, for instance, are addicted almost beyond mortal help. Number 8. Whenever you see in the newspaper or hear someone say that writing in America has gone to the dogs, you can bet that it's the educated classes who are doing the bewailing and the uneducated classes and the young who are being bewailed. If clear writing is one of the foundations of a democratic society, don't count on getting it from men and women with a college degree. Ivy League alumni magazines are awash with letters so grammatically squalid that they barely make sense. Cleanup time at this toxic dump has to start at the top. Number 9. Writing is not unlike the schoolroom period called show and tell. The writer should not only tell a story, he should try to make the reader see what he is writing about. As Mailer demonstrates, active verbs are ideal for this kind of work. They force us to witness an event, but nouns are equally pictorial and helpful. I'm not talking, needless to say, about concept nouns. I mean the thousands of simple nouns like house and chair and earth and tree that denote the objects of everyday life and the properties of the world we live in. Unlike the long concept nouns, which tend to be of Latin origin and to end in ion, these are Anglo-Saxon words, short, blunt, homely, and infinitely old. They are words that are in our bones and that resonate with emotions, whether we want them to or not. A writer who uses these nouns makes instant contact with the humanity of his reader by giving him a familiar picture. Number 10. Good art writing should above all help us to see, just as good music writing should help us to hear. And its domain can be as wide as the world we live in. Often, in fact, we need to be shown what is right before our eyes. The graphic designer Paul Rand, in his book A Designer's Art, notes that although the Oxford English Dictionary devotes 2 columns to graphics and 4 to design, most people don't know what is meant by graphic design. The term commercial art, he says, is probably the one that comes closest to describing his métier, but snobbery and the lack of clarity about its scope have contributed to its gradual disappearance. Here's his own definition. A graphic designer is one who creates ideas that are expressed in words and/or pictures, and generally solves problems of visual communication. Items that require the work of a graphic designer before they can be printed or produced include price tags, catalogs, newspapers, magazines, posters, brochures, advertisements, books, book jackets, stationery, logos, packaging, product nomenclature, nameplates, signs, in short, anything involving the visual manipulation of words and/or pictures. Number 11. Writing, however, is one of the most powerful tools that science education possesses. A student can reason his way with words toward the solution of a problem, and his teacher can watch him do it or not do it. Although the following examples come from chemistry, you can adapt them to physics, biology, engineering, psychology, and every other discipline where laboratory experiment and observation are a big part of the learning process. Just change the terminology to fit your field. How does someone write chemistry? Here are 2 explanations that I like, taken from the Journal of Chemical Education. Chemistry teachers are now beginning to insist on writing from their students, and these 2 women are obviously leaders of the trend. The first professor, Estelle K. Meiselich, of Bergen Community College, Paramus, New Jersey, begins her article by raising the most common bugaboo that science teachers worry about. Is there some way of requiring good writing from students that will not diminish the science content? The concern behind the question is twofold: that teaching writing will take time away from teaching chemistry, and that writing in the sciences is not the same as writing in the humanities. Tackling the question, Professor Meiselich writes, "Here is a method I have used successfully for the past 8 years in courses for both chemistry majors and non-majors. On every examination, I ask at least one and often several questions that require a written response. Students are told that their answers must be written in acceptable English for credit. If I decide that a scientifically correct response is poorly written, the student cannot get credit for the correct answer until it is rewritten in correct English." Number 12. Eagerness to read and correct student writing, however, is not a commodity that grows on trees. It's far easier to just check right and wrong answers. Unfortunately, there's no quick and easy way to teach writing. When I first did it, I assumed that a good part of the job could be accomplished by explaining in class the elements that constitute good writing. Surely if I assailed my students with my sacred principles of clarity and simplicity and brevity, if I exhorted them to use active verbs and short words and short sentences, if I pointed out the pitfalls that await the writer of a travel piece or a sports piece or an interview, they would go and do what I had told them to do. No such transfer takes place. Writing teachers are lucky if 10% of what they said in class is remembered and applied. The bad habits are just too habitual. They can be cured only by that most painful of surgical procedures, operating on what the writer has actually written. Only there, where a writer is at his most vulnerable, having put some part of himself on paper, does he make the connection between principle and practice. The operation is almost as hard on the teacher. Like the parent who tells the spanked child that this hurts me more than it hurts you, the writing teacher wants nothing so much as a paper that's well written, one that won't mire him in endless repairs and emotional debris. I sometimes find myself emitting small moans as I start to read a paper and realize the magnitude of the problems ahead. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, you probably will not see us again. If you have, congratulations, you are growing every day.